Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order this Monday study session of the Pierce County Council. It is Monday, September 30th, 2024. The time is 11:01 a.m. All members are present except for Councilmember Morel, who is excused. That brings us to item number 2, which is the review of tomorrow's Tuesday, October 1st, 2024 council meeting agenda. Mr. Cox.
Yes, Chair Mello, members of the council, you have in front of you the amended meeting agenda for October 1st, 2024. The meeting will be held at 3 o'clock here in the chambers of the Pierce County Council, located at 930 Tacoma Avenue South. The first action item under the agenda will be under Section 5, the consent agenda. And you have for final action 3 resolutions. You can find those at Section 5C2. And your first up is under sub A. You have proposal R 2024-215, confirming the reappointment of one existing member, Sean Manley, to the Pierce County Planning Commission. This will be for final action. The next is R 2024-216. And this is confirming the reappointment of 3 existing members, Dana Giove, Kathy Yang, and Virgilio Cintron, to the Personnel Board. This is again for final action. And the third you have is R 2024-217. And this is confirming the appointment of one new member, Denise Wells, to the Pierce County Human Services Citizens Advisory Board, again for final action. The next item you have on your agenda is under item 6, messages from the executive and other elected officials. And you have one message from the executive indicating that he vetoed ordinance 2024-543-S3, which was amending, an ordinance of the council amending ordinance 2023-44-S2, the biennial budget of the county for fiscal years 2024 and 2025. Under item 7, proclamations, recognitions, awards, and presentations, you have 2 proclamations. The first is proclaiming October 2024 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Pierce County. This is being sponsored by council members Herrera and Hitchen. And then number 2, you have a proclamation proclaiming the week of September 30th through October 6th, 2024 as Week Without Driving in Pierce County, Washington. And this is coming from council member Hitchen. Under item 8 of your agenda, you have 3 items. The first up under resolutions, R 2024-205 is approving expenditures of the Behavioral Health and Therapeutic Courts Fund for a mobile community intervention response team. This received a due pass recommendation at Health and Human Services Committee on September 17, 2024. It's up for final action. The next, item 2 under 8, is R 2024-206. This is approving expenditures of the Behavioral Health and Therapeutic Courts Fund for Behavioral Health Navigation Services. This received a due pass recommendation at Health and Human Services Committee on September 17, 2024, again up for final action. And the third item is R 2024-207, and this is a resolution approving expenditures of the Behavioral Health and Therapeutic Courts Fund for Certified Community Behavioral Health Clinic Expansion and Implementation. This received a due pass recommendation at Health and Human Services on September 17th, 2024. And again, it's up for final action. That is your council meeting agenda for October 1st, 2024. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Are there questions about tomorrow's regular meeting agenda? I don't see questions. Not aware of any amendments or grant authorizations up for discussion. So that brings us to item number 3, review of committee agendas for the week. Mr. Cox.
Yes, Chairman, members of the council, Jeff Cox, council staff. You have in front of you the amended meeting schedule for the week of September 30th, the remainder of the week of September 30th through October 4th, 2024 of the Pierce County Council. We are now in the Monday study session. Following this at 1:30 p.m., you have your special community development and environment committee meeting, and you have 2 items on that agenda. The first is an update on Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan, and that'll be from Tiffany Odell, Planner for Parks and Recreation, and that's County Department. And then you have under proposal item 6, another proposal, ordinance 2024-553. Actually, this is a proposal, not a presentation, 553, and this is an ordinance related to critical areas, adopting amendments to Pierce County Code, Chapter 1825 definitions, and Title 18E Development Regulations, critical areas, to update the county's critical area regulations using best available science consistent with the Growth Management Act, and adopting findings of fact and setting an effective date. The date for final council action on this is scheduled for November 12th. Tuesday, October 1st, you got your Health and Human Services Committee meeting, and that begins at 9:30 in the morning. That's you have one agenda item, and that's a Human Services Procurement Study update. And this is going to be from Carrie Waterland, Principal Policy Analyst for the Council, Bill Vetter, Senior Policy Analyst for Performance Audit for the Council, and Chris Cooley, Deputy Director of the Human Services Department. That's it for the Tuesday Health and Human Services Committee meeting. At noon, you'll have a Tuesday study session. And there you've got one item that's been added, and that's the executive session pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1I. And then you have your council meeting, regular council meeting at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. For Wednesday, October 2nd at 9 a.m., you have a meeting of Pierce County Council Committee of the Whole. You have 3 items on your agenda. The first is an update on the Micro Home Village project, Good Neighbor Village. The presenters will be Wolfgang Opitz, Deputy Director of Budget and Performance for the Finance Department, and Duke Paulson, Executive Director of Tacoma Rescue Mission, for that update. The next update is on Select American Rescue Plan funded projects with risk status. And the presenter there will be Julie DeMuth, Assistant Director of Budget and Performance. The final presentation that you have is Council Budget Monitoring Reports. And you'll be hearing from Paul Boakey, Principal Policy Analyst for the Council, and Rebecca Chapman, Policy Analyst for the Council. And that's your Wednesday, October 2nd, Pierce County Committee of the Whole meeting agenda. And that is the entirety of your meeting schedule for September 30th through October 4th, 2024. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Are there questions about the committee agendas for the remainder of the week? Councilmember Hitchin.
Not questions, just comments for the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The color of the day is purple, just in case anybody wants to coordinate. So, and then the second one, there's a lot of interest around the contracting presentation. So for those of us that are not on Health and Human Services, we've all been trying to navigate this. And so we're going to do some learning, but if there's questions, please make sure you get them to Ms. Waterland if you can't attend, and maybe somebody or to myself, and I can ask on your behalf. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments? Please note the Committee of the Whole for this week does start at 9 a.m., not 9:30 a.m. So don't be surprised, don't be upset. We set these by resolution at 9 a.m., which, and instead of moving them back to 9:30, which I know is the regular start time for most committee meetings. But we didn't move it to 9:30 because that would have made it a special meeting and would really have tied the hands of the council to not be able to have other business items and flexibility in the agenda through a special meeting. So keeping it a regular meeting, as planned by resolution, keeping it at 9 a.m. gives maximum flexibility for the council to talk about whatever they want to in the Committee of the Whole. So apologies for that, but just making sure that that is clear. I know it's on our calendars for a 9 a.m. start on Wednesday. Vice Chair Campbell.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I appreciate your caution for us not to be upset, but I'll probably still be upset till the coffee kicks in. So my apologies.
Fair, fair.
Mr. Chair, I have one item. Oh, thank you. Hugh Taylor, council staff. I have one item for your weekly meeting schedule, Tuesday study session specifically. If I could just touch on it real quick. So council staff did receive a relatively last minute grant application approval request from the Planning and Public Works Department. We didn't have sufficient time to get it on the Monday study session today. We would like to bring it to council at Tuesday study session tomorrow for your consideration. It's a airport improvement program grant. So it's for our airports. It's specifically provides, let me get the detail, a little bit of detail for you here. It's for Tacoma Narrows Airport fencing and obstruction removal. This is a project that is already in the capital facilities plan. It's one that we, as a county, would hope to receive grant funding for. The AIP grants, as I think members are aware, are quite beneficial to the county in the sense that the FAA will provide up to 90% of the cost of the improvements. And so the request that's been submitted is for a grant for approximately $600,000 for that project, and it'd be a 10% local match. So we'd like to provide the details to you tomorrow and review it in hopes of perhaps getting it on a consent agenda for approval tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments about committee agendas for the week? Not seeing any. We're at item number 4, discussion of administrative items. Ms. Murray, good morning.
Good morning, Julie Murray, Chief of Staff. I have a couple of items to discuss. The first is may see today, and I will introduce him to you more formally next week. Frederick Langley is joining the staff as an intern from the UW University of Washington Tacoma's Public Policy and Economics program. And so he's just going to be here short term through the end of the year to help me with some of the research I'm doing for indigent defense and the new caseload standards. He's working with Joe Iserman in the performance audit as well as the finance department, because we have built a model to assess Pierce County's costs and want to see if we can't use that model on a more statewide basis. So he will be here mostly on Mondays. He's limited to 12 hours a week. So he's just working very directly with me. So today is his first day. And so you may see a very tall individual here in the conference room, but I will introduce him to you next week. So then also just to give you an update on other personnel issues, I'm hoping to have in about 2 weeks the ordinance to change the job classifications and job descriptions for basically, I've already brought to you to Rules and Operations a review of the policy staff series. We needed to do an update of the clerk to the council's job description to recognize the new organizational structure of the council. And so based on some of the feedback I got on that job description, I've been working with the Human Resources Department to just finalize the text as well as the proposed salary for that. And then lastly, we had talked, and it's been many months, so I want to remind folks about the job descriptions for the performance audit team. And when Nathan left, we realized that the job description for that committee is the same for all our policy staff and didn't really recognize the kind of unique features that we need for folks who work for the performance audit committee, understanding large data sets and putting together really like evaluations versus, I would say, the policy staff think about new things in the future and how to change. And this is really more of a retrospective analysis. And so it's a different skill set. And kind of working with the HR division, what we're trying to do there is create the same series we have for the policy analysts, where there is a analyst, senior analyst, principal analyst between the three. So you'll have that as a package, and it's going to be somewhat different than you've seen in the past because we're also putting it into the new HR format. So it's very difficult for me to do what you typically see as the revision, the strikeout and the graying out, because it is totally reformatted in a much more user-friendly way, I think, for both applicants and actually to work with our Workday system, because it's something that it can gravitate into Workday when we have recruitments. So it's going to be much more a replace and eliminate rather than seeing all those revisions. But the staff have reviewed it and they don't see us, other than the clerk to the council, there's really not a general difference, but we'll work through that in the Rules and Operations Committee as well as you. But just know that's coming because I need to get going on the recruitment for the clerk to the council. And so my goal is to get that out there in the month of October. So anything I can do to bring you up to speed or make it smoother for that revision, just let me know. I'd be happy to sit down and go over all the materials with anyone on a one-on-one basis. Then I want to also say that I signed a contract for our employee recognition event at the end of the year. So you've got a December 13th date, put that on PC Council, and we're going to be at the Washington State Historical Museum, which is just downtown. They have a number of rooms available, and we'll have it be catered. You get admission into the actual museum, and one of the things people said that was very favorable about last year's event is that there were some other things to do while the event was going on. And so you can wander into the museum. They have a scavenger hunt if we decide we want to do the museum scavenger hunt, but there's lots of activities. And if you've been there even recently, there's 3 new exhibits that are starting in October. So there's going to be new material as well. So we're going to be there on December 13th, and I will put the address, but it's the museum that you see when you're on 705 or on Pacific. So, and then lastly, I want to bring up an issue that I don't necessarily have a solution. I want you all to think about it. There was a fire drill recently here in the office, and one of the issues that came up with that is both council members and your assistants are not on the PC Council calendar. So one of the things that our floor wardens, who you don't know, one is Mr. Cox, one is myself and Brenna, as well as Andrea, is that we're responsible for making sure that the office has been evacuated. And one of the places they look at is PC Council to see who's not here. And we don't have you or your assistants on the calendar. So that created a lot of extra is someone here today. And so I want you to really consider whether or not you should put yourselves on that calendar. That's, for me, the purpose, that is one of the primary purposes. It's also just to make sure we know how to get a hold of you, as the calendar is for you to get a hold of us. I want you to think about that, or think about some other alternative, because I understand that that was a lot of the primary work of the wardens was where are you here and in this building today, you and your assistants, whereas we could easily tick off the current council staff and know that they were teleworking and we should not be looking for them. But that's really a hole that exists in sort of our safety procedures, is what to do about that. So I'll revisit it, but I want you to think about that. And is it too much to ask of you to put yourself on the calendar? And with that, I'm happy to answer questions.
Questions for Ms. Murray? Well, welcome back. Hopefully you had a restful, yet brief week, and thank you for continuing to pursue the implementation of our reorganization plan. That's a lot of work. We appreciate you keeping your eye on that. Not seeing any questions for Ms. Murray. We will, Ms. Murray has been working on many safety measures. As we know, she's been keeping us updated on how to continue to improve safety and security for everyone here. So we heard your last request, and we'll let members think about it for about a week, and we'll revisit it next week, I think, so we can take your request seriously and make sure we're able to respond. So thank you for that. Thank you for taking our safety seriously. Item number 5 is other business. At the end of the study session packet, as always, there is the expanded schedule, looking out about 60 days, and what's in the legislative hopper, so folks can see what's on the horizon here that's in various stages of review or getting ready for scheduling and introduction. So draw your attention to that at the end of the study session packet. There are other items of business by members. Councilmember Hitchin.
Thank you, Chair. My question is actually about items in the hopper. I noticed we have several law enforcement ILAs coming up, and I just wondered, as far as scheduling, is the goal to have all of those done before the end of this calendar year? And
So thank you. That's the Sheriff's Department's goal, to try to have all of the ILAs through the council by the end of this year. You'll note that on the hopper, it doesn't have a committee assignment yet. The reason for that is staff, principally myself, is still looking at how much workload there is and then trying to distribute it across the committees. With those ILAs, there are 2 possibilities. Possibility 1, to send it to Rules and Operations Committee. Possibility 2 is to send it to the Public Safety Committee. There are 11, I believe the count is 11 agreements there. So probably next week I'll have identified which committees that it goes to, rules or public safety. And we'll try to manage it the best that we can internally. I know that Miss Kelly has met with the Sheriff's Department Chief of Staff to go through some questions that staff identified relative to the interlocal agreements and is still working with staff at the Sheriff's Department in that regard. But we're doing our best to manage that workload. It was a large influx. We weren't expecting it because we had received information earlier that it actually might not come in this year. And then to our surprise, it was all submitted into last week. So Andrew, do you have anything you want to add to it? Okay. No? Okay.
Thank you. I was just curious because it was a lot.
Thank you for being responsive. Any other business by other members? Ms. Murray, any other business for council?
No.
With no other business before the Pierce County Council in Monday's study session, we are adjourned.